The negotiation chamber aboard the neutral station was grand but sterile, its cold, metallic walls reflecting the uneasy tension in the air. The Galactic Lords had insisted on this location, an ancient diplomatic hub orbiting a dying star, as if they sought to remind humanity of its insignificance. Ambassador Elias Varian stood at the head of Earth's delegation, his posture rigid but composed. He had negotiated with warlords and tyrants before, but the Galactic Lords were different. They ruled through dominance, not diplomacy. Towering figures clad in ceremonial armor lined the opposite side of the chamber, their reptilian eyes watching him with barely concealed disdain. At the center of the alien assembly sat High Lord Vorax, his obsidian skin gleaming under the artificial lights. Unlike the others, he bore no expression of contempt, just a cold, analytical stare, as if he were studying an insect beneath his boot. "You requested these talks," Elias began, his voice measured. "Humanity has no desire for war. We seek cooperation, trade, and peace." Vorax let the words hang in the air before responding. "Peace." His voice was a deep, guttural vibration, laced with amusement. "Humans speak of peace as if it is something freely given. Peace is earned through strength." Elias exhaled slowly. He had expected resistance, but not outright dismissal. Strength can be measured in many ways. Cooperation leads to mutual prosperity. War, however, is destruction for all involved. A ripple of hissing laughter moved through the lords. Vorax tilted his head. "You misunderstand, Ambassador. War is prosperity. It is how empires rise. Weakness, on the other hand," his sharp, black claws tapped against the armrest of his throne. "Weakness invites annihilation." The shift in the air was sudden. An invisible signal passed among the lords. Elias barely had time to register the movement before one of them lunged forward, a blur of motion too fast for an unaugmented human to follow. A flash of silver, and then pain. Blinding, searing pain. He staggered, a foreign weight sinking into his chest. Looking down, he saw the jagged ceremonial dagger embedded between his ribs, dark blood pooling around it. His vision blurred. Yet he remained standing, his hands grasping at the hilt, as if he could pull it free through sheer will. The lords watched in silence, their laughter gone. The one who had struck him, a warrior marked by scars, stepped back, reverence in his gaze, as if he performed some sacred rite. Elias lifted his eyes to Vorax, whose expression had not changed. "This," the High Lord said, "is how we reject weakness." His legs buckled. The world tilted. The cold floor rose to meet him. Somewhere, beyond the veil of his failing senses, he heard the distant echoes of shouts. His security detail reaching for their weapons, diplomats crying out in horror. But it was already over. Darkness took him. The War Council convened in silence, the weight of the past 24 hours pressing down on every person in the room. The footage of Elias's execution had been broadcast across Earth's networks. Billions had seen it. Billions had demanded justice. At the head of the table sat Director Malcolm Rains, a man who had spent decades ensuring Earth's survival in a galaxy that saw humanity as little more than prey. He was not given to rash decisions, but this was not a matter of politics. It was a declaration of war. "They never intended for negotiations to succeed," said General Cassandra Holt, her voice edged with controlled fury. "They wanted to send a message." "Yes," Rains murmured. His fingers tapped a rhythmic pattern against the steel table. "And now we send ours." A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembled officials, but one among them leaned forward, concern shadowing his face. "We aren't ready for full-scale war," said Minister Duresh, the head of intergalactic affairs. "We may have advanced fleets, but the lords have ruled through military supremacy for centuries. If we retaliate conventionally, we risk annihilation." Rain stopped tapping his fingers. The room fell into expectant silence. "We won't fight them conventionally," he said. A pause. Then realization flickered in the eyes of those who understood. Holt nodded. "The project." Duresh paled. "You can't be serious." "They left us no choice," Rains replied, "and we have no better weapon." Another silence stretched, but this one was different, less uncertain, more resolute. Rains turned his gaze to the far end of the chamber. where a screen displayed lines of classified data, a single name standing out among the encrypted text. Elias Varian, a man who had been killed, a man who was not allowed to stay dead. Rains exhaled. Deploy him. Cold, a silence, so deep it felt like drowning. Then a gasp, a sharp intake of air, like a man surfacing from the depths of an ocean he never knew he was sinking into. Elias Varian opened his eyes. Light, blinding, harsh. His body convulsed, muscles screaming as if fire coursed through every nerve. He tried to move, but restraints held him in place. Metal, secure, familiar voices echoed around him, distant at first, then growing sharper, more distinct. Neural activity is stabilizing, heart rate elevated, but within expected parameters. Cognition appears intact. He's awake. The words cut through the haze in his mind, snapping his focus into place. He turned his head, his vision adjusting. A sterile chamber surrounded him, walls lined with monitors, biometric scanners feeding information to unseen observers. The air smelled of antiseptic and ozone, laced with something else, something unnatural. Then the memory struck. The chamber aboard the neutral station, the Galactic Lords, the dagger, the pain, the moment of death. He had died, and yet he was here. A figure stepped forward, the overhead lights casting sharp angles across her face. General Cassandra Holt, a woman who had spent her life waging wars that never made it to the history books. She studied him with an expression that was neither sympathy nor satisfaction, only assessment, as if measuring success of an experiment. How do you feel? Elias breathed in. His chest expanded effortlessly. There was no pain, no wound, just a strange sensation beneath his skin, like something humming beneath the surface. His hands flexed against the restraints. The metal groaned. He was stronger. His eyes met hers. What did you do to me? Holt didn't answer immediately. Instead, she nodded to a technician who pressed a series of commands into console. The restraints clicked open. Elias sat up, his movement smooth, effortless. Too effortless. You died, Holt said simply, but we weren't ready to let you stay that way. Elias swung his legs off the table, testing his balance. It was perfect, too perfect. His heartbeat, steady, measured. His breathing, regulated, precise. He could hear the hum of machinery in the walls, the quiet murmur of voices outside the chamber. Resurrection was impossible, and yet Holt gestured toward the screen beside them, where lines of data scrolled endlessly. We call it the Resurrection Protocol, a fusion of nanotechnology and advanced bioengineering. We rebuilt you at a cellular level, strengthened you, enhanced you. Elias reached for his own wrist, pressing his fingers to his pulse. It was there, steady, unyielding, but beneath it, something else pulsed, something foreign. He looked up. You turned me into a weapon. Holt didn't flinch. We gave you the means to finish what they started. The words settled into space between them. The Galactic Lords had murdered him as a show of power, a demonstration of what happened to those who dared challenge their rule. They had expected fear, submission. Instead, they had given Earth its greatest weapon. A door slid open behind Holt, and another figure entered, Director Malcolm Rains. His presence was heavy, carrying the weight of decisions no one else dared make. His gaze met Elias's, unreadable. I won't lie to you, Rains said. This wasn't done out of sentiment. It was necessity. Elias studied him. The unspoken truth hung between them. He hadn't been chosen just because he had died. He had been chosen because he was capable of what came next. Holt stepped aside, revealing a second screen. It displayed the Galactic Lord's primary war council. Alien faces Elias had last seen in the final moments of his first life. The memory of their laughter, their certainty, burned beneath his skin. We're not sending a fleet, Rains continued. We're sending you. Elias's fingers curled into a fist. He felt the strength in his grip, the power beneath his skin, the hum of something new, something unnatural, yet entirely his. They think they killed me, he murmured. A pause, then a slow smile. Let's show them their mistake. The void of space stretched endlessly beyond the stealth pod's reinforced hull, a black abyss punctuated only by the distant glow of stars. Elias Varian sat motionless in the cockpit, his eyes fixed on the looming silhouette ahead. The war world of the Galactic Lords. It was less a planet and more a fortress, its surface carved into labyrinthine strongholds, its orbital defenses woven into an impenetrable net. To any other infiltrator, it would be suicide. To Elias, it was an invitation. The ship's AI whispered in his ear. Trajectory locked. Window for undetected entry. 63 seconds. Elias barely acknowledged it. He was already in motion, his enhanced mind processing every variable with clinical precision. His body moved as if it had always known this level of control, as if muscle and machine had been one from the beginning. He engaged the pod's manual override, bringing the ship into a free fall toward the planet's surface. No alarms, no scans, just silence as the black hull of his vessel blended into the void. He hit the atmosphere at an angle sharp enough to burn through weaker plating, but the pod held. Superheated plasma flared around him before dispersing, and then darkness. A plunge into the storm-laden skies of the war world. Altitude, 3,000 meters. He ejected. The night swallowed him whole, wind howling past as he descended in controlled freefall. Sensors in his suit adjusted for turbulence, his vision filtering through the dense clouds. Below, the sprawl of the Galactic Lord's primary command complex unfolded. Towers of black stone and steel, glowing conduits of energy weaving between them like veins in the Titan's flesh. He landed without a sound. The first sentry never saw him. A blur of motion, a single strike, and the towering alien crumpled without a sound. Elias caught the body before it could hit the ground, lowering it into the shadows. He didn't need weapons. His body was one. Moving through the corridors of the stronghold was like slipping through the cracks of a monolith. He navigated the layout from memory, cross-referencing the intelligence fed into his mind during his rebirth. Every step was measured, every motion calculated for efficiency. 2 guards at the next junction. Heavy plasma rifles. Too slow. He was on them before their instincts could register danger, his hand striking like tempered steel. A joint snapped. A weapon turned inward. A pulse of energy silenced before it could scream. The bodies fell as he stepped over them. He was close. The War Council chamber loomed ahead, an ornate door of obsidian, flanked by elite warriors clad in ceremonial armor. These were no mere sentries. They were lords in their own right, veterans of 1,000 battles, standing as the final barrier between Elias and the architects of his death. He did not hesitate. The first attack came from the left, a plasma blade cutting a line of fire through the air. Elias twisted, the blade missing him by millimeters. His counterstrike was instantaneous. Fingers driving into the warrior's exposed throat. A gurgling hiss, a stumble backward, and then silence. The second warrior was faster. A curved blade, thrumming with energy, arced toward his midsection. Elias caught the wrist mid-swing, twisting with inhuman strength until bone and metal gave way. A sharp cry, cut short by a precise strike to the base of the skull. The doors to the council chamber loomed before him. No more barriers. No more delays. He stepped forward. Inside, the Galactic Lords sat upon their thrones, their expressions frozen between shock and fury. High Lord Vorax rose, his towering form casting a long shadow across the chamber. "This is impossible," the warlord snarled. "You are dead." Elias smiled. "Not anymore." Silence held the War Council chamber in a suffocating grip. The lords, supreme rulers of the galactic dominion, had never known fear until now. Elias Varian stood before them, no longer the diplomat they had slaughtered, but something else entirely. Something beyond their understanding, beyond death. Vorax took a step forward, obsidian armor shifting with the weight of his movement. His reptilian eyes narrowed, studying Elias as one might an aberration, a flaw in the fabric of reality. "You are an illusion," he said, voice measured but edged with something unfamiliar. "A deception." Elias let the words settle before answering. "You wish that were true." A flicker of movement, one of the lords reaching for a weapon. Elias reacted before the thought had finished forming in his enemy's mind. A blur of motion, a sharp impact, and the alien crumpled to the ground. The hilt of his own ceremonial blade lodged in his throat. The chamber erupted. Guards surged forward, weapons drawn, but Elias was already moving. He wove through the chaos with inhuman precision, his strikes landing with surgical efficiency. Limbs snapped, weapons misfired, bodies fell in silent, final motions. The enhanced awareness thrumming through him registered every movement before it happened, allowing him to dance through the storm of combat like a phantom. Within seconds, the floor was littered with the fallen. Only Vorax remained, standing amidst the wreckage of his kind. He did not reach for a weapon. Instead, he regarded Elias with something closer to curiosity than fear. "What have they done to you?" Elias tilted his head, feeling the hum of power beneath his skin, the sharpened edge of what he had become. "They gave me a second chance." Vorax exhaled slowly. "And now you seek vengeance?" "No," Elias said, stepping closer. "I seek balance." The High Lord studied him for a long moment before a slow, cruel smile spread across his face. "You think killing me will end this war?" Elias shook his head. "Killing you is just the beginning." Then he moved. Vorax was fast, faster than any of his kind Elias had faced. A blur of black steel and razor-edged claws. His strikes carried the weight of centuries of conquest. But Elias was faster, stronger. He met every attack with precision, weaving through the deadly storm until he saw the opening. One instant of vulnerability. That was all he needed. He struck. A sharp twist. A blade turned inward, and High Lord Vorax staggered. The obsidian armor cracked. A deep wound carved into his chest. He looked down, disbelief flickering across his features. Elias stepped back, watching as the warlord collapsed to his knees. The Galactic lords had ruled for generations through fear, through the belief that they were untouchable. That belief shattered with Vorax's fall. Elias turned to the remaining lords, those who had watched in silence. He let them see him, let them understand. This is what happens when you mistake humanity's mercy for weakness. He turned away, stepping over the fallen, and activated his communicator. Mission complete. The response came instantly. Understood. Extraction inbound. As the war world trembled beneath the weight of its shifting future, Elias Varian walked into the darkness, no longer the man he had once been, but something far more dangerous.